Black History Month happened to pop up. I saw that message from the Gov, and I just thought it was a good way to start off today. So let me first announce at the start of the meeting here that the Critical Area Commission is holding this meeting virtually due to the current public health emergency. The meeting is being held using Microsoft Teams and will be streamed live to the public. The public will be able to view the meeting from the Commission's website, and the meeting will be closed captioned. Minutes of the meeting will be provided on our website. And all our presentations will also be on our website. I want to review a few ground rules at the meeting. All microphones will be muted. We ask that you hold your questions or comments until the end of each presentation. If you have a question or comment, please note that in the chat box that you would like to speak. I will call your name in order, and please announce yourself by name when speaking so that any attendees on the phone can identify you. If you are joining the meeting by phone, press *6 to unmute yourself. The public was invited to submit written comments on any agenda item up to 24 hours prior to the meeting. Those comments, if received, will be read by the executive director at the appropriate time, which is now, because I want to call on Kate Charbonneau to do the roll call and see if we have any comments from the public.
Thank you, Chairman Deegan. We have every member of the commission in attendance, so which is a first for one of our online meetings. So thank you all very much for attending today. This is wonderful. So I'm going to run down the list of who is in attendance, and we have Commissioner Timothy Adams, Commissioner Curtis Beulah, Commissioner Gail Blazer, Commissioner Jeffrey Ferguson, Commissioner Anita Grant, Commissioner Sue Greer, Commissioner Mike Hewitt, Commissioner Matt Johnston, Commissioner Charles Laird, Commissioner Jim Lewis, Commissioner Mike McCarthy, Commissioner Pat Mahoney, Commissioner Gary Mangum, Commissioner David Marks, Commissioner Jennifer Merritt, Commissioner Stephen Parker, and Commissioner Donnie Sutton. Welcome, Donnie. We also have Commissioner Debbie Herr Cornwell, Commissioner Sandy Hertz, Commissioner Catherine McCall, Commissioner Ewing McDowell, Commissioner Julie Oberg, Commissioner Tammy Roberson, and finally, Commissioner Caroline Varney Alvarado. So, and we do not have any public comments at this time.
Fantastic. That's great. We have everybody here today. Next, we have the approval of the minutes. I have one minor change under old business. We refer to a status update on solar regulations, and later on it mentions solar regulations again in the status. That should be renewable energy regulations. And I think, Kate, you've already taken care of putting that in for the record.
Yes, I have. And the revised minutes have been uploaded to the MS Teams.
All right. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hewitt, and seconded by David Marks, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm getting good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing no objections, the minutes are approved. So we'll go right on to the main business of today, which is regulations. And that's Lisa Herger is going to do a presentation on that. This is for the renewable energy regulations, the final approval from the commission. So it'll get in the Maryland Registry. I guess first want to thank particularly Catherine McCall, who acted as chairman of that special work group we set up, Debbie Herr Cornwell, Jim Lewis, Mike McCarthy, Julie Oberg, Gary Setzer was served in there, and Matt Johnson for your work on that. And it's finally today coming to an end, hopefully very successfully, and really appreciate the time and effort you guys put in on that. So Lisa, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chairman Deegan. I am going to display PowerPoint presentation. Just let me know when you can see it.
We can see it.
Okay. So as Chairman Deegan just said, we are proposing for a vote this afternoon for final publication in the Maryland Register, the renewable energy regulations that we have been talking to you about for the past couple of months. And I'm just going to do a brief overview to just remind everyone what they are about. They provide development standards for what we consider minor 2 megawatts or less, or major greater than 2 megawatt solar projects in the critical area, whether they're on private land, state lands, or lands owned by local governments. The reason we're doing this is because there currently aren't any regulations that are specific to this type of land use, and we thought it was important to make sure that there are standards that are consistent across all of the critical area jurisdictions regarding these types of land uses. We also, when doing these regulations, we're trying to be careful about balancing the state's renewable energy portfolio goals that the legislature has put in place, and also at the same time making sure we are continuing to protect the habitat and water quality habitats in the critical area. And finally, one of the big goals of this effort was to create a mechanism that doesn't involve the use of growth allocation from the local governments to allow certain types of major solar energy generating systems in the resource conservation area. So what the regulations do not apply to is they don't limit the authority of the Public Service Commission in any way, and they don't regulate the typical rooftop solar or ground-based solar for private individual use. What they do apply to are community, commercial, industrial, and utility scale solar energy generating systems, in the critical area. And they also apply in all 3 critical area designations. So intensely developed areas, limited development areas, and finally resource conservation areas. As we've mentioned to you before, we did a lot of broad stakeholder outreach. You can see the list that I have printed here on the slide for you. We reached out to all of these folks, including the governor's office, and of course, the solar industry folks that we were put in touch with. And we received a lot of good feedback, and those comments were incorporated into the document that you all voted on at your November 12th meeting to be published in the Register. And just another shout out, as Chairman Deegan mentioned earlier, to the work group of 6 commission members that stuck with us through the past probably year and a half, making sure we were on the right track. So thank you all again. And very quickly, the benefits are that there's now a means, a mechanism for allowing major solar energy generating systems in the resource conservation without growth allocation, as we had mentioned earlier. And it also has provisions to allow small residential accessory solar in the buffer on very small grandfathered lots when there's no feasible alternative, and that would require mitigation. It also allows local jurisdictions to provide alternative requirements to what we have put in these regulations. Of course, that would be at the Commission's approval. The only thing that they can't change that we have put in our regulations have to do with the lot coverage provisions, the growth allocation provision, and the forest clearing requirements. We also stuck in the ability to allow some of these systems in modified buffer areas, but only if the panels would be over existing legally developed lot coverage. And finally, there are some innovative mitigation measures in the mitigation section, besides the typical ones that we usually request, in hopes that local jurisdictions, if they have these projects, and maybe there is some mitigation plan or project that they have on the books, but they weren't able to accomplish, this could be a way to do that for them in the future. So the timing of the regulations, as I said, you all on November 12th of last year gave Commission staff the permission to publish these regulations in the Maryland Register, and that publication appeared on December 18th. The 30-day public comment period ended on the 19th. I have not received any further public comments since it's been published in the Register. So if you approve it today, I estimate that it will appear in the Maryland Register on February 26th, which would give it an effective date of March 8th of this year. And the last bullet you see on your slide that mentions they'll actually apply on April 1st is because we have some provisions written in the draft that say as of on or before April 1st, 2021. So they would actually become effective then. In the interim, what we will be doing is sending out a letter and some information to all of our local government partners who have all seen the draft, but kind of reminding them about the regulations and trying to answer any questions they might have about future implementation. And that concludes my presentation, and I will turn it back over to Chairman Deegan.
Anybody have any questions for Lisa? Lisa, you did an outstanding job as always.
Thank you.
While we're waiting for somebody to come up with a question, you want to tell them and then how busy you've been with the sending draft maps out to some of our towns, like Perryville, Chesapeake City, Charles County, Indian Head. What's the other ones?
You named them. That was just on Friday. Letters went out to those 4 jurisdictions from Chairman Deegan delivering their summary draft maps for local approval. So maybe we'll be seeing those soon.
Yeah, that's just an FYI. Well, if we don't have any questions, the chair will gladly recognize Catherine McCall for a motion.
Thank you, Chairman Deegan. On behalf of the Renewable Energy Work Group, I move to authorize Commission staff to publish these regulations as final regulations in the Maryland Register.
That was very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Who was that, Tim?
That was Jeff Ferguson.
Oh, Jeff, very good. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to go publish this in the Maryland Register and a final approval from the commission. All those in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposition? Seeing none, passed unanimously. Thank you all very, very much. Now, we don't have any old business right now, but I'm skipping over the most important thing here, Kate. I'm sorry. We have a presentation from our 2 critical area circuit riders, my favorite employees and the newest employees of the commission. Who goes first? Annie going to go first or Michael?
We're going to kind of tag team it.
Okay, it's all yours, Annie.
Okay, great.
Or Michael. Mike's listed first, so.
That's true, but I'm actually going to be speaking first. So just to complicate things.
I figured you were going to take the lead there.
Well, thank you so much, Chairman Deegan. Yes, so I'm Annie Sakarik, and Mike Grassman and I were hired coming up on 2 years now in March. We were hired as circuit riders for the commission. And so today we're just going to kind of give you a brief little update about what we've been up to the past couple of years. So for some background, the intent of the Critical Area Circuit Rider program is to provide more resources and assistance to small towns throughout the Eastern Shore that may not have had the staff or access to resources like larger towns or counties. We know that a lot of the staff in these small towns often wear many hats, so we try to take a little bit off their plates when it comes to critical area review and implementation. So originally, circuit riders traveled by horseback from town to town to spread information. And now, we travel by car, or at least we used to when we could get out of the house. And we serve as a resource for local governments and to help initiate critical area program goals at a local grassroots level. Our job duties include assisting municipalities with the 6-year comprehensive review process, developing educational programming for implementing local critical area programs, providing assistance directing municipalities to grants and other technical resources, and reviewing building permits and providing feedback on projects to ensure consistency with the critical area programs. So here on this map are the towns that I work with as a circuit rider. So in Kent County, I work specifically with Betterton, Millington, and Rock Hall. And in Caroline County, I work with the towns of Hillsborough, Greensboro, Denton, and Federalsburg. Now I think Mike's gonna try to take over from here. And allow.
Thank you, Annie. I appreciate that. And thank you all for the opportunity to present today and give you a little bit of information about what we do as circuit riders. So the municipalities that I work with are in Cecil and Queen Anne's County. I work with the towns of Port Deposit and Perryville, Charlestown, and Chesapeake City in Cecil County, and then Churchill, Centerville, Queen Anne, and Queenstown in Queen Anne's County. Let's see if it's working here. There we go. We also have a number of towns that we work with in the lower eastern shore. We coordinate with Maryland Department of Planning office, and we have an intern that is from the Salisbury University, and they coordinate with Sharpstown, Fruitland, Secretary, Vienna, Mardella Springs, Princess Anne, Snow Hill, Trisville. So they cover all the towns that are in Wycomico, Dorchester, and Somerset County, as well as Worcester County. And we will see the major projects from these municipalities. They'll go to our critical area planners, but they have an intern that'll handle some of the building permit reviews and stuff like that down there. So as was mentioned just a few minutes ago by Chairman Deegan, we have been conducting our critical area map updates around the state. Several towns within Cecil County are under review right now. Big shout out to Lisa Herger and Bob Cicconetti, who have been doing the majority of the work on these map updates. We also coordinate with the Eastern Shore Regional GIS Cooperative and interact with these municipalities. So we just recently delivered Chesapeake City and Perryville, as well as Port Deposit and Charlestown. And I've just been kind of helping coordinate this process with everyone between our office, Eastern Shore Regional GIS, and the towns. One of the first towns that I did really start working with was Charlestown up in Cecil County. In addition to reviewing several building permits, I've conducted site visits with the town and the county staff and focused mainly on some coastal resilience and shore erosion control works. There's been some flooding in the town and areas of the town that are starting to experience some increased erosion. So we've come up with some plans, and we also coordinated with Department of Natural Resources in helping to give the town a DNR clearinghouse study to identify areas of the town that are more vulnerable to some projected sea level rise and flooding, to help the local planners make more informed decisions about future development. Also assists the town with some issues involving critical area violations and enforcement. We had a recent interesting case that involved some clearing in the buffer. A family inherited some property in the town. They were from out of state, and they weren't very familiar with critical area regulations. So you can see what happened here in the buffer. This required a little bit of education and some explanation on our part. There were some public health issues that the property owners were concerned with because this area had become so overgrown. So just coordinated with the property owners, the town, and the county to develop some solutions that both satisfied the regulatory requirements that were needed and addressed the homeowners' concerns. So we do assist the local planners quite a bit with critical area permits, some consistency reports, and commission projects. What you see here is the wastewater treatment plant from Port Deposit. This came into the commission back in 2018, and it did receive approval with conditions. Part of satisfying those conditions were coming up with a good buffer management plan, which helped coordinate between the town and the consultants. So being a circuit rider is a pretty dynamic position, as I'm sure Andy can attest to, because we encounter a variety of different projects and requests from areas that have very specific needs. Here in Queenstown, I've had requests that range from some relatively simple permits about clearing some downed trees in the buffer to some pretty long-term complex projects that, such as the Wheatland subdivision and growth allocation, which is still an ongoing commission-related project that we're working on. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Annie.
Great, thanks, Mike. Yes, so in addition to everything that Mike just described, another one of our responsibilities is to assist municipalities with the comprehensive review of their critical area programs every 6 years. This process allows us to coordinate with the towns to develop local alternative provisions based on their local needs. So this is a list of comp reviews that have been completed since Mike and I started in 2019, and a list of those that are currently in progress. We are also in the process of approaching other towns, so more comp reviews may be initiated within the next year or so. And so in addition to everything that's already been said, I wanted to share a couple other examples of some things that I've been working on with my towns. This one was in the town of Betterton. The town staff there requested educational material about native trees that they could provide to their residents. So I coordinated with our science advisor, Claudia, and she was able to write this article for the town's monthly newsletter. And in addition, Claudia was able to also come up with a list of native trees and shrubs that the town could add to their tree removal permit application. So it made it a little bit easier for residents whenever they did apply for a tree permit to know what kind of trees or plants could be used for mitigation and replanting. And then in the town of Millington, their town manager reached out to me because they were experiencing frequent flood events that were causing a lot of property damage. So I coordinated with Jaleesa Tate at MEMA, or Maryland Emergency Management Agency, and she was able to provide me with these flyers about emergency preparedness, which the town was then able to distribute to their residents and to the local businesses there. And then in the town of Greensboro, their town staff reached out to me because a lot of residents were coming up to them saying that they were having an issue with a lot of standing water in their yards. And so I again coordinated with our awesome science advisor, Claudia. She's a lot of help. And she was able to direct me to some rain garden resources from the University of Maryland Extension, which provided some just general information about how rain gardens work and how to install them in a residential area. And then she was also able to give me a list of native trees and shrubs that tolerate getting their feet wet and can help suck up some of that water as a possible solution for residents in that town. And so that pretty much covers, it's a brief little snapshot about what Mike and I have been doing the past couple of years. So if there are any questions, please let us know, but otherwise we'll turn it back over to Chairman Deegan.
I have a question.
Yes.
I didn't see one turkey in that presentation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we left that one out.
Okay. I promised Kate I wouldn't say anything at the beginning, but I didn't say anything about the end. For the commissioners that don't know, Annie and Mike have both been super stars on the staff since they joined us. And Annie was just there a short period of time, maybe a month, 2 months. And we let her take the state car over to Eastern Shore. And she thought it was getting close to Thanksgiving. It was close to Thanksgiving, as I recall. And she managed to do away with one of Maryland's finest turkeys with the car.
Hi.
She had, the only problem was,
Yeah.
did about, what, 2,300.
Oh, perfect.
Plus
Yeah, I'm here right now.
So since then, Annie's been the brunt of a lot of turkey jokes, but we appreciate it because hopefully we're going to get a new car out of that soon. But I just couldn't let that go by. Annie, you handled that very well, Mike too, and appreciate that. I think it's funny because I learned a lot about what you guys do, and I should really know. So I hope all the commissioners learn quite a bit too. That's that's why I think it's important for us to kind of expand so we know what the commission does outside of just sitting here and approving regulations. It's another reason I wanted to do that Black History clip from the governor today, and maybe in the future we can spread out and do some that NPR stuff on the Chesapeake Bay and the Potomac River and stuff. That's really pretty interesting, but that's much longer. Don't know quite how to do that in a short period of time. And hopefully we will eventually get back to taking our trips to Poplar Island and Hartsville Miller Island, which Nick, I don't think we ever got there yet, but that might be another trip we can hopefully plan in the summer. Keep your fingers crossed. So with that, Kate, do you have anything else?
I do not have anything else. No old business or new business.
Do you want to mention their financial disclosure? Nah, they get enough emails on the financial disclosures and the ethics forms. They're due what, April 30th, I think.
Yes.
So with that, again, I want to thank everybody for taking the time, and was very happy to get to the renewable energy regulations and final approval from the commission, and particularly when we got that done before the legislature ended this year. So look forward to seeing you all in person real soon. I hope you're getting your vaccination shots. I can brag, I've had my first one. I don't get my second one till President's Day, but get those, and hopefully we'll all get together soon. So with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. And thank you again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Very good.
Stay safe.
Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye. Bye.